Mormons, those guys who come up to your door in their collared shirts and ask if you know about the Book of Mormon. Well, these are the same people who in March of 1857 were declared an open rebellion against the US, and 1/3 of its standing army was sent to pacify them. But how did we get here? Hello Aqualandians, my name is Yamikazu, the Minecraft historian, and this is a story of the Mormon resistance and persecution in the US. Before we get into this too much, let's start with, who are the Mormons? The Mormons, or the Church of the Latter-day Saints, were a religious movement in America in the 19th century founded by American prophet Joseph Smith. There are multi-hour long documentaries on who the Mormons are, but all you need to know is that they are a Christian branch with another holy book called the Book of Mormon, and the people around them at the time really didn't like them. So let's take a road trip through Mormon migration. Originally, the Mormons were in Ohio, and specifically in Jackson County, Missouri. But like I said earlier, people really hated the Mormons because their beliefs were so radically different from the mainstream Christianity. So they were expelled from the county, and they kept moving around until they landed in far west Missouri. But following with the history of the anti-Mormon sentiment, on October 27, 1838, the governor of Missouri declared all Mormons enemies and kicked them out of Missouri. They then settled in Awu, Illinois. But then in 1844, Joseph Smith was arrested, and then he and his brother were killed by a mob. This left the church without any clear leader, and a succession crisis broke out on who would get the right to lead the church. In the end, Brigham Young, the senior apostle of the Quorum of 12, rose to lead the main church, while other opponents formed other sects. The event of their prophet being killed would lead Brigham Young to add the oath of vengeance to the endowment ritual, promising to avenge the blood of the prophets on this nation. But we still aren't in Utah. So how do we get here? In the next couple years in Illinois, tensions between Mormons and non-Mormons got so bad that to avoid war, Brigham Young led the Mormons to Nebraska and eventually to the Salt Lake Valley of Utah. Now, during this time, the Mormons quickly colonized and spread all across Utah, solidifying their power within the region and growing their population. The biggest issue the church faced in its earlier days before Utah was there was already people where they were trying to live, and those people hated the Mormons. And in a move that can only be called a big brain 900 IQ gamer move, Brigham Young moved to a desert in which it was both burning hot and freezing cold, and no one wanted to live there, and therefore no one could oppose them. Like, I'm not even kidding, it rarely rains, it snows a ton, and it's freezing cold in the winter and hot and dry in the summer. You may be thinking, who in their right mind would ever move to this nightmare? And there is a reason for it. Remember when I said there was no one to oppose them? One of the reasons the Mormons kept getting kicked out is because they kept trying to set up theocracies wherever they went. And this didn't go down well with the general populace. So they moved to an area where no one was there to stop them from setting up a theocracy. And so, Brigham Young was appointed governor of Utah for the main reason he had most control of the area. And for a country that guarantees freedom of religion, having a theodemocracy in your territory kind of undermines your legitimacy. So, with the general hate of the Mormons in America and Brigham Young setting up a theodemocracy in American territory undermining federal power, President Buchanan in May of 1857 sent the Utah expedition to crush the Mormon authority in Utah. The actual war didn't have many notable events and looked like this for the most part. Sir, President Buchanan has sent an army to replace you. I knew he was jealous of my amazing hat. Sir, no offense, but that's the ugliest hat I've ever seen. I think it's more because you set up a theodemocracy on American soil. Oh yeah, well, who does he think he is to take away my federal appointment by the president? He's the president? Well, I don't like his appointee, so I refuse. Daniel Wells, here's the Nauvoo Legion. Go mess up those feds who want my hat. Sir, they don't want your hat, but I got a great tactic. Boys, go commit arson and steal their horses. Ain't no way these guys are just burning our stuff and running away with our horses without fighting us. As you can see, it was mostly guerrilla warfare to slow down the US Army. This was mostly because the main US Army didn't have enough supplies to continue in advance, with continued strikes on their supply lines. No one really died except when the Mormons committed a bit of a war crime with the Mountain Meadows Massacre, which killed 120 civilians passing through Mormon territory. Yeah, that's a bit of an oopsie. Anyways, when everything was settled, it was an inconclusive result for both sides. Everyone was pardoned except the guy behind the massacre, and it was a huge humiliation for President Buchanan, being called Buchanan's blunder. Brigham Young also had to step down as the governor of Utah. But even with all the destruction the war had brought to the Mormons had finally found a place that they didn't get kicked out of, and to this day, they are the majority in Utah. And with this, our tale of the Mormon resistance and persecution in America comes to an end. Hello everybody, this was one of my longer videos. Thank you so much for watching and I hope you enjoyed it. This video took me about a week to make, so if you want to see more like this in the future, remember to subscribe and like the video and leave your suggestions down below for future videos.